You watch the news, same stories, until you realize something's off. One by one, countries are walking away from the United States. Quiet exits, broken deals, bases shut down. This isn't random, it's a global shift. 10 countries. One message, the world is moving on. Let's get into it. Number 10, Canada. For decades, the border between the United States and Canada looked more like a line on a map than a real barrier. Families shopped on either side. Auto parts crossed back and forth without a second thought. Then came a jolt. Early this year, Washington placed a steep 25% duty on cars and components made north of the border. Ottawa did not hold a press conference. It fired back with 60 billion Canadian dollars in counter tariffs and slammed the brakes on fresh talks. Automakers paused new orders. Warehouses in Michigan and Ontario watched inventory pile up. Small towns that rely on weekend shoppers felt traffic fade. Is it just another chapter in trade war theater? Maybe. Yet factory managers whisper about shifting their next expansion to Mexico, or even back to Europe instead of doubling down in North America. When two neighbors this closely tied pull in opposite directions, even the quietest move can echo across an entire continent. Number 9, United Kingdom. History, language, even pop culture link Britain and America like old friends. But friendships change when trust wobbles. London grew uneasy as White House positions swung from one extreme to another, on climate, on conflict zones, on trade rules. In response, the United Kingdom surprised many observers. It paused certain arms sales to Israel over civilian casualty concerns, matched the European Union's new sanctions on Russia without waiting for Washington, and slowed separate trade talks in order to rethink its leverage. Inside Parliament, MPs argue that dependence on unpredictable partners is a risk the country can no longer afford. British diplomats are busy lining up deeper cooperation with neighbors in Europe, yes, even after Brexit, and courting Asian investment to hedge their bets. When the staunchest ally starts rewriting its playbook, other capitals take note. Number 8, Germany. Step onto a factory floor in Stuttgart, and you still hear the hum of precision machines. But in government corridors of Berlin, the tune has changed. After the United States imposed across-the-board car tariffs, German leaders rallied the entire European Union to answer back. They did not blink. Instead, they hammered out their own list of retaliations and pushed ahead with a defense fund that leans less on American hardware and more on joint European projects. German firms are hedging too. Automakers sign research deals with South Korean battery companies. Cloud service contracts increasingly favor EU or Asian providers over American giants. To Berlin, autonomy is not just a slogan, it is industrial survival. And when Europe's largest economy recalibrates its compass, smaller members quietly pilot their ships the same direction. Number 7, France. You know, Paris cafes are full of debate, so it was honestly no shock when French officials began an open conversation. What if Europe had to defend itself without the United States? That question once felt like philosophy, but in 2025, it sounds a lot more like planning. President Emmanuel Macron endorsed drafts for a joint EU rapid deployment force. He also backed a rule that sensitive government data should not live on clouds run by foreign firms. French energy companies are pouring billions into North Africa, and engineers are securing rail contracts that used to go through Washington-backed lenders. Step by step, Paris is reducing levers Washington can pull in any future disagreement. Friends, yes, but friends who keep a spare key in their own pocket. Number 6, Mali. Mali rarely tops global headlines, yet its pivot is honestly one of the boldest. Faced with a grinding insurgency and frustrated by lectures tied to Western aid, Bamako's military leaders tore up defense pacts with the United States. American advisors flew home. Almost immediately, Russian instructors landed, followed by Chinese construction teams, eager to rebuild roads in exchange for mining rights. Supporters cheer the promise of quick help without democratic strings, but critics warn the move locks Mali into costly debts and empowers autocrats. Whatever the result, one truth is clear. Mali chose to switch patrons rather than stay in a partnership it felt no longer served its ruler's survival. Number 5, Burkina Faso. Further west, Burkina Faso followed a similar script but stayed even quieter about it. There were no grand speeches. One day, United States Special Forces instructors packed their gear. A week later, Russian aircraft delivered new supplies. For Washington, the loss is strategic. Drones once launched here now need rerouting. For locals, the jury is still out. Some villages hope the fresh approach will stem extremist violence, while others fear rising civilian abuses. What matters for our story is the pattern. Alliances that took years and billions of dollars to build unraveled in just months, not through hot war, but through simple orders from new commanders who saw more benefit in Moscow than in Washington. Number 4. Niger. Niger once hosted America's second-largest drone base in Africa, a linchpin against terror groups creeping across the Sahel. In 2025, its military government issued a blunt directive: U.S. forces leave. Engineers cut power to satellite terminals. Control towers went dark. Almost immediately, Russian and Chinese delegations toured the now vacant facilities. Why risk that cornerstone of security? Leaders in Niamey felt Washington's promises fell short. Roads half-paved, schools unfinished, attacks still surging in the countryside. By choosing different sponsors, they hoped for immediate gains and, well, fewer lectures on election timelines. The gamble could bring fresh resources, or widen a security vacuum extremists rush to fill. Either outcome redraws the map of American influence on a continent where partnerships now feel as fragile as dry season dust. Number 3. Russia. It may sound odd to list Russia itself as turning away from the United States, but look closer. The Kremlin once relied on a careful dance tension with Washington, yet trade ties that kept money flowing. After years of sanctions and war costs, that dance floor is emptying. Energy buyers hunt for cheaper or cleaner suppliers. Former satellite states sign European Union defense agreements. Even Iran sells more oil to Asian refineries that once booked Russian barrels. Inside Russia, price hikes and wage stagnation squeeze families. Young professionals eye emigration as censorship tightens. Policymakers respond with deeper economic deals with the Gulf and Asia, but those partners set hard terms. In this chess match of geopolitics, Moscow sacrificed its middle squares for short-term gains and now struggles to reposition. Number 2. China. Walk through a smartphone factory in Shenzhen and the production lines still fly. Yet supply managers now track 2 sets of parts lists. One that meets United States export rules, and another for products shipped to markets beyond Washington's reach. The web of interdependence that once tied China and America is fraying row by row. Tariffs remain high. Chip bans push Beijing to pour billions into homegrown semiconductors. At the same time, Belt and Road projects stretch farther. Ports in the Middle East, railways in Africa, fiber lines in South America. China is building redundancy. But growth is slowing, the workforce is aging, and the pressure to deliver jobs onshore rises. Beijing's leaders calculate that accepting slower trade with the United States hurts less than staying vulnerable to sudden bans. Whether they succeed or stumble, the world's 2 largest economies now steer on separate, sometimes colliding paths. Number 1. Saudi Arabia. For half a century, world energy markets moved to a rhythm set by Washington and Riyadh. That melody is changing keys. Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia's vast plan to leap beyond oil, needs partners with cash and technology. China buys more crude than any other nation and offers quick financing for new megacities on the Red Sea. Russia sells discount weapons without human rights debates. European firms bring green hydrogen know-how. Meanwhile, American lawmakers increase scrutiny of Gulf conflicts and domestic reforms. The kingdom's leaders read those signals and hedge. They still value United States defense protection, but they now broker deals on multiple chessboards. When Riyadh prices a cargo in yuan instead of dollars, even once traders notice. When it funds solar farms that might someday compete with its own oil exports, strategists raise eyebrows. Saudi Arabia is not abandoning the United States outright. It is reducing single-source risk. In a multipolar era, that move could tilt power balances from Caracas to Canberra. 10 countries, 1 global shift. The United States isn't out, but it's no longer the center. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe, like, share, and stay tuned, because the world is changing fast and we're here to explain it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.